Hello there, and welcome back to the Closet Historian and back to my sewing parlor where once again, I'm afraid we will not be doing any sewing. I'm starting to kind of miss it, so I really need to get back involved with my regular sort of programming. But naturally, I haven't actually seen the surface of this table in quite a while because whenever you tear out a floor in your house, everything has to come up off of that floor and then it ends up in every other room of your house, which in my case involves the sewing parlor. So this table was, until about 5 minutes ago, covered in stuff still. But now the dining room is pretty much put together, at least for now. So let me go ahead and show you what I've been up to. And that's right, we were even able to pry up the thick 70s brown tile from in front of this fireplace. I was really hoping that a secret 1890s original hearth tile was going to be underneath that, but unfortunately life is not always like it is in the movies, so there was nothing exciting underneath. And while the tile came up mostly in one piece, sadly we did have to chip away at these 12 by 12 peel and stick tiles that had been stuck down for far too long. But luckily, once the new floor got going, it was very satisfying to see it go down. My dad had to toil away at that first strip along the back wall because, as you can see, there are 2 radiators with 2 pipes for each radiator, so a lot of things to cut around and a wavy wall to begin with. And yes, sadly, back here in the kitchen for now, I will be keeping my disused dishwasher and certainly long-forgotten Harvest Gold trash compactor. Still, after a very fun week of work, my parents and I managed to replace the floor in the back half of the house. Well, what do we have here? We have my new luxury vinyl flooring. That's right, so fresh that I haven't even put the little trim around the baseboards yet because I have to get to that, and it's a lot of which 45-degree angle do I need and then getting it wrong and then cutting it again, let's face it. So I'll be getting to that bit by bit and piece by piece. This fireplace does not work. I don't know what the state of the chimney is, but there is a piece of wiring coming up through the chimney so that there's a plug up here, which is where those lights are plugged into. And there's actually also a socket inside of there so you could plug in a electric fireplace, which I have not done, obviously. But it's not a working fireplace. You can't put anything burning in there anyhow, so we just continued the wood flooring in there so that it's all nice and smooth for now. Again, eventually, would I like to do either wood flooring, like real wood flooring, or actual tile, possibly stone tile, all the way through here and into the kitchen later on in life? Yes. But for now, this is quite the upgrade from what I had going on before. So thank you to my parents for helping me put this darn floor in. And importantly also for taking the old one out, because me and my mom had to sit on the floor and chisel. And that was not the most fun that has ever been had. But now that the hard part of this dining room is finished for now, the floor is in and the walls are painted and the ceiling is painted, a lot of things have gotten done. We'll see if I can't get rid of that. And then maybe paint my smoke alarm so that it's less noticeable. You can see that it's also just not up here right now because I was trying to make onion pakora last month and I just kept setting it off. So I took it off for a while. There's other smoke alarms, don't worry, I'm not gonna die. But I also need to put this back up there. But every time I tried to hook it back up, it kept ringing. I'll work on it. But anyhow, what you can't see here, because it is behind you, are the windows in this room. And I want to go ahead and finish fixing those up. I have painted the trim around the windows, but I want to go ahead and create some pelmets and then also hang some new curtains. And you can see my table did indeed arrive distressed from Facebook Marketplace, as previously established. So I need to sand down and repaint the top of this to be black, match the rest of the furniture. Sometime, we're probably not gonna get to that in this video because I want to make pelmets that look like this, only with like this little finial here, kind of spiderwebby, again, calling back to the design on the ceiling. And I don't want to make these out of fabric. I actually want to make these straight up just out of wood for a bit more of a rustic vibe. So I have some 1/4-inch pieces of plywood here that I'm going to use to hopefully construct something that looks like this. Again, this is not something I have ever done before, so this will be less of a tutorial and just more of a diary of me trying to do this because who the heck knows if this will work out? I certainly do not. But I have some water, I have some poster board, markers, the wood, downstairs is the jigsaw. Let's see if I can't put something together here because the most fun part about this is actually going to be hanging up the lace panels that I got to go behind them for that full Dracula dining room vibe. And luckily the supervisor has arrived and there's another one lurking in the darkness next to the laundry machines. All right, I'm not gonna lie, this took me a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I've made a paper template for what I want to do in wood. I always recommend, whether it's wood or fabric, that you make a pattern of some kind. Of course, wood is much more expensive and annoying to go and find, so make sure you trial everything in paper first. But I have my paper templates to be able to trace these curves onto my piece of wood, and then hopefully I'll be able to cut those out with the jigsaw downstairs without incident. This is not an excuse to get to the top of the pantry-ish thingy where that fern I had to hide in a lantern is, because you like to eat maidenhair fern. But I like to look at maidenhair fern. You mean boy. What a mean boy you are. He says, I've never been mean. I've never had a mean thought in my life. You don't know that it's mean to knock my things over and eat plants. But it kind of is, buddy. And the Fia is just sitting here. She's actually supervising like she's supposed to. It is the next day, and I spent a couple hours last night cutting out all the stuff that I traced from my paper pattern onto the 1/4 inch. And as you can see, despite buying, I went out to Ace Hardware and bought a reverse blade that's supposed to be better for cutting wood, like this, where it doesn't chip up the edges as much. It's still a little bit chippy, so I need to sand some of my chippies off, but a lot of it is pretty clean, so not too bad. Obviously the back side is worse than the front, but I need to sand these a little bit. I have the 2 main pieces that are kind of like the middle layer. Then I have these sections that get glued on top of that, including this little finial bit that goes in the middle as well. So I just need to give all of this a quick sand, and then I can start actually assembling each pelmet cornice thingy. But what I'm really looking forward to is painting these and getting them up. That way I can hang my lace curtains behind them. Now, the designing portion of any project is always my favorite compared to, let's say, getting stuck into the fabrication, but most ardently so when it comes to carpentry, because I find the noise and nerve-wracking possibility for injury of power tools rather irritating. And I did just layer my shapes on top of each other with wood glue and clamped those to dry. So I put little clips on these to dry, actually weighted this down with some actual weights that I had laying around. Sadly, it's the most use they've gotten since I purchased them with such high hopes. And I did end up securing these pieces together further with a few 1/2-inch long nails, very small little nails, just to make sure that these hold up. And then I did just mount these onto the pieces of wood that were left behind from the sad shutters that I took down in my actual window frames. I've been doing a really poor job of updating you, but it's because I really don't like carpentry, I'll be honest. Makes me nervous. I have to really concentrate because there's a lot of math going on, and power tools, which is what a combo. So I'm in the middle of building my plate rack thingy, hoping for the best here. I was trying to use I think it's a radial saw, whatever this thing is, which my dad got when he was here recently to cut down a couple of doors so they would stop catching on the floor. But this thing and I do not get along, so I went back to the jigsaw. So I'm doing this all with the jigsaw. Probably not advised. It would be great if I had a table saw. I don't have that, and I don't need it for anything. I need a carpenter is what I need. So here's what I'm trying to build. I added a bit more swoopiness to the side pieces. This is the second side piece. You can see I am wearing my safety goggles, etc., and my N55. I have cut out the first side piece, as you can see with the jigsaw. The good news is I was wondering how I was going to make this look a little bit more rustic, but it turns out just having me build it, rusticity is built right in. The rusticness comes naturally. And then over here in the kitchen, which, wow, preview for the kitchen, I have cut out the front apron-y bit, which is suitably swoopy at least. These are the other pieces I at least just cut down to the correct size, hypothetically. Assembly should be very interesting. I do have to try and use the router to put in dado cuts for this, so that should be a very fun experiment because I've never done anything like that before, and judging by how this is going, yikes. Also, this is one of the pelmets. I just have to put those up tonight. I need to do another coat on these, or on this one, and that one I think already has 2 coats. I don't remember, but I need to put those up, and then I can put my curtains up, which would be so super fun. I hope I get to do that tonight. But I'm gonna go make this cut, come back up here, paint that probably, then have dinner, then get back to this nonsense. All right, so unfortunately, the lace curtains, despite this having a coat of paint on the back and having sanded it, it's still a little bit too catchy, on the knit of the lace, and I'm not gonna mess with those curtains because those curtains are more expensive than these pelmets, although maybe not by hours invested at this point. So I went ahead and I've put a very thick second coat on this back to try and smooth it out a little bit more. I'm gonna let this dry overnight and see how that does. The other one will need a big thick coat of paint on the back as well tomorrow. So I can't hang these up tonight, which I was really hoping to, because then I could at least be done with one side of this carpentry project, which is this easier one. But then I have to get back to this tomorrow as well. I would keep working on this tonight, but my hand actually hurts from jigsawing a lot of the parts. So I'm just going to not push it because when working with power tools, it's important to not push yourself too hard because you don't want to make a mistake. Because many reasons, because. I think we can all agree the best part of having these up finally is just that Oliver is sitting there so cutely where he needs to be in front of the curtains. Whew. As you can see, I still have a little bit of touch-up painting to do, but is it perfect? No. Is it pretty darn swoopy in here? Yes. And these are the panels I picked up from Cooper Lace. I, of course, will link these and them in general below because they make replica lace curtains that are actually, for the most part, mostly cotton at least. And no one wants sad polyester when you can have happy cotton. And I'm feeling it. Of course, I had to pull one curtain aside because this is where Sophie watches the squirrels on the fence over there. Occasionally, I will have to draw it aside for the kitties because that is where they do their squirrel watching, which is why I bought them this bench on Facebook Marketplace that I set underneath this window so they could sit and watch squirrels, naturally. But these are my wooden pelmet cornice thingamajiggins that I made out of 1/4-inch plywood. I'm not going to say it was the most fun project ever. I don't, my natural inclination is not towards carpentry, let's face it. Of course, I think the swoopies draw in the swoopies from the ceiling pretty well here. And in general, it's the blue hour outside, so it's helping with the color scheme. And now I have to go to Home Depot because I've devised a new way to put together my darn plate rack of doom. Because I was going to cut out dados for these side shelves, but I'm not really qualified and I don't really have the setup for that. So instead, I'm going to have what I would call a faux dado, which is where I'm going to put boards in between and secure those boards to create the little lip for the shelves to sit on. So that's my new plan here. As you can see, Oliver is still helping, but this does mean that I need to go to Home Depot to pick up some different wood screws because the only screws I have that are 1.25 inches long are drywall screws, and I need wood screws. So at least I can return the router bits. Let's look on the plus side. Yes, buddy, we know. Thank you. He's trying to hug the camera, basically. You are very cute. Everyone is happy to see you in your pink nose. And I'm much less happy that I have to leave you to go to Home Depot yet again. It's not even a good store. There's no good hardware stores, though. Sad news. Well, I was just having some soup here. I've put my plate rack on top of the sideboard. And do you think I made it big enough? It's 66 inches tall and 60 inches wide, which the sideboard underneath is only like 61 inches wide. So it's hanging on here for dear life. How many of you are going to be bothered by the fact that this little guy is just slightly tilted? Because now it's going to bother me forever now that I've noticed. Until I have this room completely redone, I guess, one day. I had to do some touch-ups on the wall. I put this up here even though it's only got one coat of paint on it because I wanted to see what it looks like. But it was heavy enough for me to get up there by myself that now I'm just going to paint the other coat in situ. So I'm just going to be very careful, which I had to be careful painting the first coat because I was painting it on top of the rug in the hall. So I'll just paint the second coat carefully here in place, and then I will secure this to the wall with a couple of L brackets up at the top to the studs so that nothing comes timbering down, hopefully. And then I just have to train the cats to not climb on this, which should be an interesting challenge, especially once I have plates up there. But it's adding a lot of height and drama to this room and is actually quite fun. I need to sweep, but I have painted the second coat onto the plate rack. And you can see how different the onyx paint color is to actual like black furniture, which it's not quite as dark, but I could always paint it darker in the future. And for now, it makes it look like a less fitted situation, I suppose, because it's not the same kind of black. So if you're wondering how not black that paint is, you can see it here. I do have an extra light on this, so when I turn that light off, it'll be a little bit more in keeping with the rest of the room. I did end up not putting a backing board on this, which is great because I bought 3 pieces of board And they're all like $15 each, and that means I get to go return those. But the plate rack is up, which means I get to actually start styling the plate rack, which is going to be the most fun part. But I can start putting things on here. I need to find some massive platters to put up here and or add on another shelf and or hang teacups from the top. Hard to say exactly which way I'm gonna go in that. I also did go ahead and hang up 2 sconces, just like I have flanking the tapestry on the other side, flanking the windows here. So I will show you those later. And I will try and get some footage of the Moody lighting in here when it is dark outside. For now, of course, it is not dark outside. I'm actually talking to you on Thanksgiving Day. More updates coming soon, but here is the plate rack. Again, I'm no carpenter, but it will have to do. I've decided to attempt to just remove the old doorbell because I don't need it and it's ugly. But I just wanted to show you the patch of the 70s wallpaper that was behind the doorbell here. So you can see what they had in the 72. Some sections has grapes, so I haven't seen this yet, but it's a no from me. And now I just need to find a piece of art or mirror or something to put up here to cover this. I've also decided to just relocate the smoke alarm because it doesn't need to be in the middle of the dining room when the kitchen is right there and it doesn't have a smoke alarm of its own. So I'll just put it up in the kitchen instead, where it will blend into the blue a little bit better and be less conspicuous altogether, I think, and still just as safe to be in the kitchen as opposed to the dining room, I should think. I'm actually going to stick it in the laundry room area just past the doorway because I think if I put it in the kitchen, I will constantly be setting it off, trying to fry something or another. And I did manage to get my first piece of trim down on the floor here, along the length of the wall here, although I still have a long way to go when it comes to the little quarter round. Still, I think it's time for a crafting interlude. And of course, you know I get distracted over at the Home Goods, especially now that I've started collecting table linens and things. So I grabbed myself a pack of 12 100% cotton napkins in white, just a inexpensive set of napkins here. You can see by how wrinkly they are, the level of luxury involved in this textile. But I gave those a pre-wash. Now I'm going to press them over here. And naturally I picked up this set to customize them. So I chose a corner graphic from the thousands of options floating over on Pinterest, if not millions of options. Pulled that into Photoshop, cleaned it up a little bit, brought it into Silhouette Studio, which is my craft cutter software, and I cut out these corners from some black flock HTV material that I can then iron down onto these. Of course, in an ideal world, I would do all 4 corners. I did not have enough black flock in stock here in the studio to be able to do that, so I did just do 2 corners on each of these napkins to start with so that I could make a set of 4 napkins. In the future, I would like to acquire more black flock material so I can do the other corners and of course experiment with this idea further. And naturally, I would like to get my hands on different colors of napkins to begin with. Black on black would be quite fun. A red flock material on a black napkin or vice versa. Obviously, the options are endless here. I've been having a hard time finding soft metallic. I think that Specialty Materials, which is an HTV manufacturer, have stopped making their soft metallic because it doesn't seem any of the craft cutter suppliers online have that material anymore. And I really liked that material because it is soft and yet very metallic, as the name would indicate. So if any of you know of a good supplier for a soft, washable gold HTV, let me know in the comments below because of course I would like to do some gold designs on napkins as well. And yes, HTV like this, including the flock, is fully washable. People use it on t-shirts that they have to wash all the time, so I figured why not throw it on a napkin? And you could do any custom motif using this method, including monograms, which is probably the most classical choice. Now naturally, my favorite way to fold a napkin is into a sort of butterfly moth situation, which is a fold I first spotted in some Anthropologie advertising years and years ago for some of the plates that they had going on over there. But I was more intrigued by the napkin fold. We begin by laying our napkin out open, and then we're going to fold each side in towards the center. Then we fold each of the corners back for both the top and the bottom side, like so. Looks almost like some sort of a pinwheel. And then at the top, you're going to roll this down towards the center. So just kind of roll this, maybe, I don't know, an inch thick. And then for the other half of this, we are going to go ahead and just pleat this down into place, meeting up again at the center. One last fold in half there. And then this is where you would put a napkin ring or a piece of ribbon or something to hold this into place. But you can see how this opens up into the butterfly or moth shape. It kind of looks more like a moth if you tilt the wings down, of course, depending on the color of your napkin as well, or the motif going on there. But I do think this black and white napkin looks quite good in a more classic, standard little napkin fold as well, or even just folded in half and half again, like so. I was quite pleased with how these came out, actually. I was really happy with this particular corner design. Of course, there are billions of options on the internet, but I will link this graphic below over on my Pinterest. And naturally, the idea did occur to me to actually just use a butterfly wing motif on these to try and fold the butterfly fold. This is kind of my first try at that, but I want to experiment with this more in the future, creating some sort of a custom print and perhaps having like them printed on spoon flower so that I can actually have butterfly or moth napkins that are meant to be folded in this fold. Of course, again, I think they would still look nice folded in different ways, but this is my first crack at this idea. Surely someone else has tried this before, right? And if you have seen napkins printed to look like butterfly scale print, let me know. Although, do I really need to be tempted to start my own homeware line? I wish. If I had backup capital, I would be sorely tempted, believe me. I just wish there was a way to actually accurately depict the lighting in here. Well, I say the lighting, but like the lighting at night. Because these are like faux tapers. That one's battery is dying. This one's doing a little bit better. But they're kind of a yellowish tinge. This looks red or pink on camera, but it is actually orangey amber in reality. Like I cannot, let me color correct to what the actual color of this light is. Poof, poof. So iPhone cannot handle it. My camera cannot handle it. I don't know how to convey the ambiance correctly, sadly. Here's my new-ish napkins that I finished ironing together. They look very fun, folded into the butterfly. And here's what the curtains / pelmets situation looks like at night. I do still want to figure out a new way to have this up. I bought these hooks, I just don't know where they are. They kind of got lost on my way back from the hardware store, but I wanted to put a little hook back here so I can have like a longer cord to pull this up so it's a little bit more elegant. But honestly, I like them all the way down. Of course, there are little cats that want to sit in this window though, so one must accommodate one's roommates, as it were. And I do have some velvet bows hanging from my lights and a few things in here, just for a slightly festive touch. But mostly I'm just kind of bummed that I can't capture the correct atmosphere on camera, which just goes to show that I need to upgrade my equipment. But alas, that is very expensive, so I haven't gotten there yet. Sad times. I've already swept once today, but as you can see, cats walking around kind of just creates a problem within itself. But here is our floor, and here is the plate rack of doom. It's very tall and very fun. That's right. I tried hanging a little tapestry thing here, but in the end, I didn't love it. And I found these two oval frames at the Home Goods that were actually oval frames. I've found oval frames there before that you couldn't actually access the back of them, but these ones are actually meant to be frames as opposed to be meant to be cheap art. So I put my own cheap art in them. So I have some replica lithographs, I guess, that I got actually when I was at the British Library. So this one is of some bats hanging upside down. The light reflection from the window here is really not helping, so I'll try and get a better shot of those. But I think they look nice over here. And of course, the black and the white ties back in to the china that's on this wall as well. I do have mostly black and white Spode transferware from their Heritage collection over there. This is a Ralph Lauren line piece. It's actually not very cute up close, so we'll stay far away from it. But this is an actual 1880s ironstone, I guess polychrome transferware platter, and it's absolutely massive, although because it does have fine grazing, I probably wouldn't put food on it, but that's all right. Aw, dang it, the fridge has just come on. What a loud buddy. Anyway, I would love to fill this with more platters later in the future, but for now, I've just thrown some art up there and some butterflies to make it feel me in the meantime, because of course, I can only collect so many things at once because of budgeting reasons. But here is the full DIY make your own hutch situation where I grabbed this sideboard off of Wayfair and then built the plate rack to go on top of it. Oh, thank goodness Sophia is here to help me give you a tour. Hi Lupin, you look like gingerbread. So yes, we have some Spode with a curtain tie back. These were, I don't remember, Monterey Bay. I don't know, they're from Home Goods, no surprise there. And they just match the teapot that I have, which also goes pretty well with the rest of the Spode. This was a Christmas ornament that's too heavy to hang, like so many Christmas ornaments, but it was also too beautiful to not grab it. So I just have this gorgeous handmade Christmas ornament that is too heavy to put on my tree. But we have some match cloche thingies. I love those things. We have some sort of a horn that I picked up while I was in London. This is actually a actual print as opposed to a fake print of different bees that my mom got me for Christmas one year. I think the print was like under $20, but the frame was almost $300 because getting anything custom framed is so expensive. So, you know, spraying for the museum glass on that one, and we can tell it's much less reflective and very nice. So if only all things were museum glass, but it is pricey. But I have a little like paper mache Italian mirror here, some cloisonne, more butterflies, and of course all of the plates, and some peacock feathers that I have to hope my cats will not try to climb and devour naturally. But here are all of the fun things up here on the plate rack for now. I think this will be constantly changing and constantly in flux. I would love to have this whole thing be all Majolica one day, but of course Majolica is very expensive to collect, so it's a long way off if it ever happens. And yes, we do have the modern sad vitamins / condiments / salt and pepper section, which is unfortunate. And again, it's already dusty in here. It's the constant battle between me and the dust, but that's just the way it is. I did stack some lanterns on my spare chair here. I can always pull this chair out if I need it, but I would have to make some friends in order for that to be necessary. So for now, it is just a chair for lanterns and for cats, who of course mostly love using this bench right here next to the windows. Here, Sophie is demonstrating why normally I have this curtain pulled back for her, because she's like, what the heck's going on here? Yeah, you investigate that candelabra instead, sweetie. I think that's a good plan of action. But this little bench actually does have storage inside. I need to do some touch-ups where bits have come off of it. It was a cheap Facebook Marketplace find, but I need to kind of line, I want to in the future, this is a future project, I would like to line the inside of this with some quilting cotton or something to give it a nicer surface on the inside because it is just rough wood. That way I can store my table linens inside of this, because I think we could Marie Kondo fold table linens in there, no problem. But here are the lace curtains with some light dappling through them, and you can see just how silhouetted my pelmets are here. But they are quite fun and spiky, just like the details on the ceiling. And I'm very pleased with how these came out. It's one way to solve taking the sad shutters down and doing something with the remnants left behind. And by that I mean covering them with something more fun. And at least the silhouette is a lot more exciting, that's for sure. And we do have our Xander. Hello, orange boy, my biggest boy. That's right. Cats are currently modeling the really cool thing about this candelabra, which there's a lot to like about this candelabra that I picked up at the antique store because I couldn't leave it behind. But there are actually different pieces of colored glass in the center of this, which is normally kind of hard to show, but the sun's coming in through the window right now, so you can kind of see there's a red glass, a blue glass. It's quite fun. And here's the reason my house is so dusty. In addition to just natural reasons, we also have the addition of fur and then dust distribution systems, like you. It's lucky she's so soft and cute, and did I mention soft? But I absolutely fell in love with this candelabra. I think it was $90, and I should not have bought it. But what am I gonna do? Leave behind the Gothic window candelabra? Listen, some of you might have strength, but I don't. And I can switch out the candelabra for the oil lamp over here on the table, depending on how formal or exciting or just what I'm going for with my table setting, which today I do have some, I think this is Fitz and Foyd, in the Cinnabar color, which again has already gotten dusty from me working in here, but I'm not gonna eat off of it. It's just here for show. Who am I kidding? And then I have my customized napkins that I made, folded into their sort of butterfly or moth fold. You can kind of, if you pull the wings down a little bit more, it looks like a moth. If you pull them up a little bit more, it looks more like a butterfly. I'm very, very, very tempted to figure out how to make like a custom digital print napkin that looks like butterfly scales so that when you fold it in this fold, like how has no one done this? Someone surely has done this, but I'm tempted to do it as well, or for the first time if no one else has jumped on that yet. Thank you, Oliver. You're not allowed on the table. You're doing a great job of showing just how rebellious you are and how little what I say to you matters, because, buddy, you have dirty feet and you're on my table. Come on, man. Yeah, we all know you're cute and therefore you get away with everything. You're very silly. Don't tell me that you've discovered the peacock feathers, because that's going to be bad news bears for me. I do currently have the mantle slightly decorated for Christmas, as we can see. I've brought in this big mirror that I antiqued for the other room. So now there's no mirror in the other room, which is a problem. But things in this house are just going to get rejigged for the first couple of years, let's face it. So that mirror is now in here, and it helps kind of mirror the dark plate rack on the other side. And I have some stuff here up on the mantle that probably won't stay forever once again. And definitely the Christmas decorations won't always be here. But, you know, it's important to feel festive if you can. You also may have noticed that I've hung a large tapestry curtain between the kitchen slash dining slash butler's pantry area, because nobody wants to see the washer and dryer while they're trying to have a nice dinner with Oliver bothering them. So you're making it so we can't have a nice dinner. Yes, because you're full of germs. Germs. I actually bought these curtains for up in my bedroom. I have one set up there, and they're absolutely gorgeous fabric. And I actually have found this fabric in a different colorway that might work better in here. And not that this one doesn't, because it pulls in the warm tones from the brick that obviously I can't do anything about the brick. So we have the warm tones at the floor and the brick kind of being pulled in via these tapestry curtains. And of course, in the other tapestry as well. This was a very, very fun antiquing find, and I'm very glad to have snapped it up. I don't think I showed you the details of this in the last update video for this room. So here is what this buddy looks like up close. Really, this has all of the green tones from this and the kitchen, like the green and aqua and blue tones with a little bit of burgundy thrown in there. It's actually kind of perfect. It seems to be some sort of a wool or wool blend tapestry. I think the gal said she thought it was from the 1930s or 40s. And it's super fun. Gives this room a little bit of more grander probably than it actually deserves, but I think it's quite pretty. Now, are there remnants from where the smoke alarm used to be? Yes. Is that unfortunate? Yes. Is it a lot less noticeable now if I'm not pointing it out to you? Also, yes. Especially at night, you would not even notice this up here, whereas the smoke alarm was a glaring problem, obviously. And I would say the same goes for the old doorbell that was here. I literally just clipped that off and got rid of it. This sign is, again, tiny bit off center. It needs to go a little bit more this way. And yes, that is bothering me as well, so no worries there. But you can see the different textures and weirdness of my walls. Again, this is all a temporary fix, just so that I can feel more comfortable and more at home in here until I can save up for the real renovation, which of course, real renovations are very expensive, but slapdash make it a little bit more dark academia, or whatever this would be considered, much better. A little DIY reno is sometimes just necessary for sanity. And now Sophia has joined the table, but luckily Oliver has left it alone. Will I have to reset and clean all the things? Yes. Luckily this was just here to show you what a nice place setting would look like, as opposed to for an incoming dinner party. Because, as we all know, because I'm too busy painting swoopies on the ceiling and building plate racks, I have not managed to make any friends yet. But I'll work on that after I go to the grocery store, because we're down to one Cosmic Crisp, and that will simply not do. But to say that I am pleased with the progress in here would be an understatement. I haven't really given myself enough pause to enjoy it, but it definitely feels much more like the kind of dining room I would like to hang out in. And again, this isn't really a dining room, it is more of a breakfast nook, because the kitchen is just beside us and is not closed off in any way. So I need to focus on the kitchen eventually next year as well. But for now, this is much more the kind of environment I would like to hang out in. Slightly moody, slightly Victorian. It gives me a lot of space to continue collecting plates, although I do kind of like the mix. But we'll see how this evolves in the future, because I'm sure after different antiquing adventures, things will get rejigged on this rack all the darn time. Oliver, can you not, please? This is the time to investigate? Right now? I don't think so, buddy. Come on, man. Also, I do have an idea for this firebox, which is, of course, the world's saddest firebox right now. It's neither a fireplace nor anything else exciting. I do want to create a little, summer screen or fire screen to go in front of this. Of course, there are lots of cute actual fire screens out in the world, but I decided I would DIY it. No surprise there. I do have the materials, so I'm gonna try and put that together over my holiday Christmas break here, because it will require quite a lot of hand painting. So this is where the dining room is at right now. Like I said, I'll probably be rearranging things periodically, if not daily, especially with that rack making it so easy to move things around. Honestly, I'm constantly out antiquing and looking around, so I'm probably going to find little plates and little things to be able to fill that in further with a little bit more color perhaps in the future. And I just want to make sure to add a huge thank you to my parents, who of course helped me put the floor in back there. It was quite the project, honestly. It took a whole week when we could have been doing some more fun things, and instead we're chipping off and relaying a floor. I hope you enjoyed seeing my process for putting this room together. I know it was a bit chaotic. Trust me, if it seemed that way in the shaky video cam from my iPhone, it was even more so in my reality. And another huge thank you to my patrons who make my work and these videos possible. And as always, I'll be back with more sewing, vintage fashion, costuming, crafting, and decorating real soon, so I'll see you then. Bye!